The Senzo Meyiwa Murder Trial is scheduled to continue at the High Court sitting in Pretoria today. Now, a new witness is expected to take the stand. 5 men are on trial for the murder of the soccer star. SABC News reporter Sipho Kekana is on that story and joins us live from Pretoria. Sipho, a good morning to you. I think a quick wrap of really where we ended how we ended the week last week with what we've heard in the High Court in Pretoria.
Good morning, lady. Yes, you are right. A new witness is expected to take the stand. So the focus is expected to shift back to the crime scene when the Senzo Meyiwa trial continues this morning. You'd recall that on Friday we had warrant officer Cornelius Rulovse taken to the stand and giving evidence and concluding his evidence on Friday, telling the court that a gun that he had investigated that year, in 2015 rather, was the very same gun that was investigated by Mangena, ballistics expert, in this murder trial in 2020. Now, just for context, Naledi, Rulovse was the ballistic investigator in a matter that involved accused number 3 back in 2015. He received the gun that was confiscated from accused number 3, Mthobisi Ncubes's room in 2015 when he was arrested on the 9th of February. And then he was able to positively link that particular gun to the taxi violence case, or the so-called Alexander case that happened sometime a couple of years ago in Alexander. So he was able to make those linkages. He says on the scene of that taxi violence matter, he received about 16 cartridges, and out of those he was able to positively link 9 cartridges as having been fired from this particular firearm. And Mthobisi Ncube, we understand that he was convicted and sentenced for that particular crime. Now, there has been questions as to whether the Mangenas and all the investigating officers in this case were investigating the very same gun that was investigated or examined by Rulovse in 2015. He has told the court that indeed the gun that was brought to court by Mangena was the same gun that he had investigated. And we've also heard previously from the ballistic expert, that is Chris Mangena, that particular gun was the gun that fired the bullet projectile that was found on the scene of Meyiwa's murder the following day after his murder. So that was the crux of what came out throughout during that testimony. We also heard also that when he was arrested, this is accused number 3, when he was arrested in 2015, when they confiscated that gun, there was also a blue box which was filled with ammunition. Now, Rulovse has also told the court that the ammunition that was found in that in that blue box matched the bullet projectile that was found on the scene. He and lady, the other issue here, you'd recall that there has been contentions around which gun was actually on the scene. We've heard before from a witness that was in the house, and that is Tumelo Madala. He told the court that the gun that was on the scene on that night when allegedly 2 intruders entered that house, the gun that he saw was a gun with a wheel, and this led to the police deducing that the gun that was used on the night was a revolver. However, the gun that is being debated on in court is a CZ75 9mm pistol, which also ejects cartridges when it is fired. Now, that has become a serious point of contention, Naledi, in this in a sense that on the scene no cartridges were found, and the non-discovery of those cartridges then further strengthened the idea that the gun that was on the scene should have been a revolver. However, on Friday, what we heard from Rulovse is that looking at that bullet projectile, that ammunition, that bullet is thick and would not have fitted inside a revolver, which seemed to put to bed those insinuations, those questions about the type of gun that was on the scene on that night when Senzo Meyiwa was shot and killed on the 26th of October 2014. So what we are now getting from the ballistic expert, that is Cornelius Rulofse, who investigated the 2015 murder, and Chris Mangena, what we are now getting from them is that the gun that was on the scene on that day should have been a 9mm pistol. But that, as I say, Naledi, is a point of contention. You'd recall that the defense previously contended against this. They said that it cannot be. They have insinuated that a different gun was brought to court in order to incriminate the accused that are sitting in the dock in this trial. We've also heard that the bullet projectile that was found on the scene the following morning was planted, and that has been the defense assertion, to say that there has been evidence planted, there has been crime scene tampering on that night, and the evidence that the gun that was brought to court and the bullet projectile that was found on the scene should not be taken seriously by the court, because firstly, the two police officers that arrived on the scene had not found any bullet projectile. Thabo Musia also arrived 20 minutes after midnight. He told the court that he also, during his first visit, he found no bullet projectile on the scene. He left the scene at about 10 minutes before 3 a.m. on the 27th of that morning, and he says he came back at around 6, and when he came back, he found he was able to then find this bullet projectile in the company of Mhlahlo. In fact, he says Mhlahlo was the person that actually identified, that detected the bullet projectile on the crime scene, on the kitchen countertop of Kelikumalu's kitchen. And so there has been a lot of those contentions around the evidence around the gun. On Friday, Ruloso was also taken to task about this particular gun, and this when Zandile Mshololo put it to him that a barrel of a gun was interchangeable, and he considered that a barrel of a gun of a 9mm pistol was interchangeable. And this is very key, Naledi, because you'd recall that for the police to link that bullet projectile that was found on the scene, they had to fire test bullets from this particular firearm. And apparently when you fire test bullets, when you fire a bullet from a particular gun, then the bullet that then is ejected from that particular gun is then marked with class characteristics and individual characteristics. We have heard from the court, from the previous witnesses, the ballistic witnesses, that no two guns can actually have similar individual characteristics imprinted on a spent bullet. Now, what Mshololo was then saying was that if a barrel is interchangeable, if a barrel can be changed, then we are not sure that the bullet projectile that was found on that night was fired from the same barrel that was found on the gun when it was confiscated from accused number 3's room in 2015. Those are some of the issues that we had Rulofse testifying on. So as we are coming to you live today, this morning, we are expecting that a new witness is going to be taking to the stand. It's likely going to be a police officer who was on the scene, and this, as the state is trying to find more people to corroborate the discovery of that bullet projectile and some of the contentious issues in the house. You'd recall that the positioning of Meyiwa when he was shot also came into question here. We've heard from the ballistic expert Mangena saying that Meyiwa was facing inside the house when he was shot and killed. His back was to the kitchen door, although it was not in contact with the kitchen door. He said he has told the court that he was killed with a loose contact shot which went through his chest in a downward trajectory and exiting his body through his back before that particular bullet then hit the door and landing on top of the kitchen counter. On Friday, what rule officer has told the court was that Mangena's testimony that bullet projectile could have landed on that kitchen countertop made absolute sense. He has told the court that if the door was slightly open and that bullet hit that door at an angle, it is possible that it could have then ricocheted to the wall and then fallen off on top of the countertop in that kitchen. And those are some of the issues that we are expecting that the state will try to bring more police officers who were on the scene to testify and corroborate those testimonies and iron out some of those contentious issues. So we are expecting that the focus today is going to shift back to the crime scene or continue on the gun. If a police officer who was on the scene is not going to be brought to come and testify today in court, we are expecting that somebody is going to be coming to give evidence on the gun that was discovered in accused number 3's room. We are expecting it could be the original owners of the gun. You'd recall that when that particular gun was confiscated from accused number 3's room, it had a serial number filed of it. Now, what we understand is that when Rule Officer received that gun in 2015, he says he was able, through the etching process, to establish the original serial number of that gun. However, when Mangena testified in court, he told the court that that gun that was in court did not have a serial number on it because at some point that serial number would then be wiped off again, and perhaps naturally so. However, Rule Officer on Friday, he told the court that the serial number was still there. However, it cannot be seen with a naked eye, and he says he is certain that it was the very same gun, because when he received that gun in 2015, the procedure is that when you get a gun without a serial number, you have to then from the system get a lap number engraved under the trigger guard of that particular gun. And he says that the lap number that is on the under the trigger guard of that particular gun is the very same lap number that is on the gun that he brought in court on Friday, which is the very same gun that was brought by Mangena when he came to testify in court. So we are expecting those are some of the things that are going to be discussed. We have heard previously that when that serial number was discovered, it was found that the original owners of that particular firearm were a security company in Centurion. So we are expecting that perhaps somebody from the security company would then come and testify on how they lost that particular gun. When did they lose that particular firearm? And those are some of the issues, Naledi, we are expecting are going to be discussed today. We are expecting that the new witness will be testifying on, and viewers who are not able to, viewers can also follow the proceedings in court on the SABC news channel on YouTube.